The roof explodes off the plane. 1 second it's there. The next, open sky, wind, 300 miles per hour, screaming metal, passengers gripping seats, knuckles white, blood everywhere, 24,000 feet up, freezing air, thin oxygen, and the plane still flying. This is Aloha Airlines Flight 243, April 28, 1988. A Boeing 737 flying between the Hawaiian islands of Hilo and Honolulu. A routine island hopper flight. 35 minutes gate to gate. There are 95 people on board, 89 passengers, 6 crew members. At 1:46 p.m., cruising at 24,000 feet, an 18-foot section of the upper fuselage tears away, just rips off. The front third of the cabin is suddenly open to the sky. One flight attendant is gone, sucked out instantly. 65 people are injured. And the pilots have 13 minutes to land a plane that's barely holding together. The morning starts normal. Captain Robert Skornsthamer, 44 years old, experienced and professional, arrives at Hilo International Airport for the afternoon run. He's flown this route hundreds of times. His co-pilot is First Officer Madeline Mimi Tompkins, 36, skilled and focused. The weather is perfect, clear skies, light winds, tourist weather. The passengers board. Mostly locals making the quick hop between islands. Some tourists heading back to Honolulu. It's a milk run. The flight attendants greet people as they settle in. Chief Flight Attendant Clarabelle C.B. Lansing, 58 years old, a veteran with 37 years of experience. Flight attendants Jane Sato Tamita and Michelle Honda. They've all done this flight countless times. The Boeing 737 is old, 19 years in service, but it's been maintained. The pre-flight checks come back normal. At 1:25 p.m., Flight 243 pushes back from the gate. Everything is routine. The takeoff is smooth. The 737 climbs into the afternoon sky, banking slightly as it heads northwest toward Honolulu. Skornsthamer and Tompkins run through their checklists, settle into cruise. The flight attendants start the drink service. Lansing moves up the aisle with her cart, stopping at row 5 to hand a drink to a passenger. The cabin is quiet. Some people read. Some sleep. Some look out the windows at the blue Pacific below. 20 minutes into the flight, they're at 24,000 feet. Level flight. Autopilot engaged. The cockpit is calm. Skornsthamer is talking to air traffic control. Tompkins is monitoring instruments. Everything is normal, and then it is. There's a sound, a sharp crack like a gunshot, then a massive whoosh. The entire front section of the cabin ceiling tears away. 1 second it's there. The next it's gone. The explosive decompression is instantaneous. The cabin pressure drops from 8,000 feet to 24,000 feet in less than 2 seconds. Oxygen masks drop. The wind is hurricane force. Clarabelle Lansing is standing near row 5 when it happens. She's holding a cup. The ceiling above her head disappears and she's pulled up and out. Gone. Vanished through the hole. No scream. No time, just gone. The other passengers see it. One moment she's there, the next she's not. Jane Sato Tamita is near the front of the plane. She's hit by flying debris, knocked unconscious, bleeding. Michelle Honda is farther back, grabs a seat, holds on. The wind is tearing at everything. Seats are ripping loose. Overhead bins are exploding open. The floor is littered with debris. In the cockpit, Skornsthamer and Tompkins feel the plane lurch. There's a massive bang. The cockpit door blows open. They can see straight back into the cabin. Except there's no cabin roof, just blue sky. The controls go slack for a second, then respond. Skornsthamer grabs the yoke. "We're losing the airplane," he says. The aircraft is shaking violently. The wind noise is deafening. Tompkins is on the radio immediately. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. Aloha 243. We're in an emergency descent." Her voice is calm, professional. Inside, her mind is racing. They're at 24,000 feet with half the fuselage gone. The plane should be breaking apart. The instruments are going crazy. Airspeed fluctuating, altitude dropping. The throttles aren't responding right. Skornsthamer fights the controls, tries to level out. The 737 is porpoising, nose up and down, unstable. The immediate problem is altitude. At 24,000 feet, passengers can't breathe. They need to get down fast. Skornsthamer pushes the nose over, starts an emergency descent. But he can't go too fast. The airframe is damaged. Too much speed and the whole plane could come apart. He's trying to find the balance. Fast enough to get breathable air. Slow enough to keep the wings attached. Tompkins is calling Kahului Airport on Maui. It's the closest field. We've had an explosive decompression. We need emergency equipment standing by. The controller responds immediately. Aloha 243, you're cleared for immediate landing any runway. Tompkins is thinking about what they need. They need altitude. They need speed control. They need to figure out if the plane can even land. Skornsthamer is hand-flying now. The autopilot is off. He needs to feel the aircraft, understand what it can and can't do. The control surfaces are responding but sluggish. There's massive drag from the missing fuselage section. The airflow over the wings is disrupted. He's fighting constant turbulence from the wind pouring through the cabin. Tompkins is running through emergency checklists trying to assess damage. The hydraulics are okay. The engines are running. The landing gear should deploy. They won't know until they try. Behind them, through the open door, they can see passengers. People are holding on. Some are slumped over. The oxygen masks are deployed, but in that wind, they're useless. They need to get lower. Fast. Michelle Honda is in the back of the cabin, moving forward, trying to help. She can barely stand. The wind is pushing her back. She reaches passengers one by one, checking them, telling them to hold on. Some are bleeding from flying debris. Some are in shock, staring at the hole where the ceiling used to be. Jane Sato Demita is on the floor, unconscious. Passengers are holding her down so she doesn't get sucked out. One man has his arms wrapped around a seat frame, his legs dangling into the aisle. Another woman is gripping her armrests so hard her hands are bleeding. Honda reaches them, screams over the wind. "Hold on, we're landing." She doesn't know if they can hear her. She doesn't know if it's true. Skornsthamer and Tompkins are calculating. They're at 14,000 feet now, still descending. Kahului is 23 miles away. They have maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. The plane is shaking worse as they descend into thicker air. The drag is enormous. Every control input requires muscle. Tompkins is calling out altitude and speed. 12,000 feet. Airspeed 180 knots. Too slow. But if they go faster, the vibrations get worse. Skornsthamer eases the nose down slightly. The airspeed creeps up. The shaking increases. He backs off. It's a constant balancing act. Too fast, too slow, too high, too low. One wrong move and they break apart. One wrong move and they stall. The margin for error is gone. The flaps are the next problem. Normally, pilots extend flaps to slow down for landing, to generate more lift at lower speeds. But flaps increase stress on the airframe. With half the fuselage missing, Skornsthamer doesn't know if the plane can handle it. He makes a decision. No flaps, they'll land fast, really fast, over 200 knots, but at least the plane won't break apart. Tompkins nods. She's thinking about the landing gear. It deploys with hydraulic pressure and gravity. If it doesn't come down, they're landing on the belly, with sparks, with fire. They'll find out in about 5 minutes. At 10,000 feet, the air is breathable. Some passengers pull off their oxygen masks. They can see Maui now. The coastline, the airport, Kahului single runway stretching out along the coast. Emergency vehicles are lining up. Fire trucks, ambulances. The tower is clearing all traffic. Flight 243 is the only plane in the sky. Skornsthamer lines up for the approach. He's coming in fast and high. No room for error. Tompkins calls for the landing gear. Skornsthamer pulls the lever. There's a thunk. A mechanical groan. 3 green lights appear on the panel. The gear is down. Locked. Tompkins exhales. Gear down and locked. Skornsthamer nods. One less thing to kill them. The approach is all visual. Instruments are unreliable. The plane is too damaged, too unstable. Skornsthamer is flying by feel. He can see the runway, 2 miles, 1 mile. The airspeed is 210 knots, way too fast, but it's what they have. The plane is bucking in the wind, the missing section catching air like a sail. He corrects left, then right, fighting to keep it steady. Tompkins is silent now. There's nothing more to say. Either they make it or they don't. In the cabin, Michelle Honda is screaming at passengers. Brace, heads down. People lean forward, arms over their heads. Some are praying, some are just holding on. 500 feet, 400, the runway is right there. Skornsthamer pulls back slightly on the yoke. The nose comes up. The main gear touches first. The plane slams down. The nose gear hits. There's a screech of rubber. Skornsthamer stands on the brakes. The 737 is rolling fast. The end of the runway is approaching. He's braking as hard as he can. The tires are smoking. The plane is decelerating but not fast enough. The emergency vehicles are racing alongside. Then finally the 737 slows more, stops. Middle of the runway, engines still running. It's 1:58 p.m., 13 minutes since the roof tore off. They're on the ground. They're alive. The emergency slides deploy. Passengers scramble out. Some are limping. Some are being carried. Michelle Honda is helping people, counting heads. Jane Sato Demita is on a stretcher, still unconscious. Paramedics swarm the aircraft. Skornsthamer and Tompkins sit in the cockpit for a moment, just breathing. Their hands are shaking. Behind them, through the open door, they can see daylight where the cabin ceiling should be. It looks unreal, impossible, but they did it. They brought it down. The investigation took months. The National Transportation Safety Board tore through every detail. The Boeing 737 had been in service for 19 years. It had logged 89,090 flight cycles, takeoffs and landings. Each cycle put stress on the fuselage, expanding and contracting the metal. The plane flew short routes in Hawaii, salt air, humidity, corrosion. The NTSB found that metal fatigue and corrosion had weakened the lap joints where sections of the fuselage were riveted together. Tiny cracks formed around rivet holes. Those cracks grew with every flight, every pressurization cycle. The airline's maintenance program missed them. Visual inspections didn't catch the hidden damage. The cracks spread until, at 24,000 feet on April 28, the weakened structure failed catastrophically. 18 feet of fuselage just tore away. The piece was never found. It's somewhere in the Pacific. The casualties were 1 dead, 65 injured. Clarabelle Lansing's body was never recovered. The U.S. Coast Guard searched for 3 days. Nothing. She was 58 years old, a veteran flight attendant who dedicated her life to the job. Her loss devastated the Aloha Airlines family. The injured passengers and crew recovered physically. The psychological scars lasted longer. Jane Sato Demita had severe injuries but survived. Michelle Honda continued flying. Captain Skornsthamer stayed with Aloha until his retirement in 2005. Mimi Tompkins rose to captain. Both received numerous awards for airmanship. The aviation industry changed after Aloha 243. The FAA implemented new inspection requirements for aging aircraft. Maintenance programs were overhauled. The concept of widespread fatigue damage became a focus. Airlines were required to inspect high-cycle aircraft more rigorously, looking for cracks and corrosion in hidden areas. Boeing modified its inspection procedures. The lesson was clear. Aging aircraft require more than routine checks. They require an understanding that metal fatigues, that corrosion hides, that small cracks become catastrophic failures. The industry got that lesson at the cost of 1 life. It could have been 95. April 28, 1988 was the day a plane lost its roof and kept flying. It was the day the margin between disaster and survival came down to skill, training, and luck. Captain Skornsthamer and First Officer Tompkins had maybe 10 decisions to make in 13 minutes. Every one of them had to be right. Too fast, the plane breaks apart. Too slow, it stalls. Wrong angle, wrong approach, and they don't make the runway. They threaded every needle. They brought everyone home except one. That's the weight they carried. That's the weight every pilot carries. One decision, one moment. The difference between walking away and not. Aloha 243 is a reminder that flying is still dangerous, that machines fail, that maintenance matters, and that sometimes the only thing standing between catastrophe and survival is 2 people in a cockpit, fighting for every second.